yeah, you do have to be very careful, and that way it just, if you get in a practice of doing that, that way you can't, you will know that you didn't do it. If somebody comes back and says they told me, oh no, I didn't, because I don't do that ever.
Mhm.
So that's what I've had to do, because people get mad sometimes too, and you get different personalities, but just can't help it. You got to take care of yourself and your attorney.
Yeah. And so if you guys get phone calls, and you've got an irate client, and most of the time they're not mad at you, they could be
No,
mad at the situation or whatever, and you've got an attorney that's out, they're in court, whatever the case may be, and they start badgering you, I mean, you can't help it. You are legally bound. You cannot give legal advice. And then if they start chirping on the phone, they're going to run to the judge. You can advise them that that's not going to turn out well either. And
no.
then they're going to make everybody in the system mad. And, that it's just not going to end well. Just you know, try to calm them down as best you can, and let them know, that they need to have confidence in the attorney, and the attorney will handle it in the best way possible. But running over to the judge's office is never gonna
Yeah, it's not
advance
going
the
to backfire on you. It's going
situation.
to backfire on them. Don't let them scare you into telling
Right.
them something, because that's what they try to do, and they think they got to have an answer right now. Um, and sometimes they don't real. I know if it's their situation, they don't realize. As my judge says, sometimes it's good to get some air into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes too, we don't want to just rush into it. But yeah, you could say, look, I'll take a message. Have the attorney call you when he's available or she's available.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's fine. They can come over there, but they're not gonna like the answer they get, because they, number one, they've not done what you told them to. Then that makes me aggravated, because they've not listened to you,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you're the one that knows what you're talking about, not them.
Mhm.
They don't need,
Mhm.
so we're gonna back you up.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, and we, a lot of us, I have done this on numerous occasions, and I have had paralegals and attorneys do this to me. Heads up, so and so's headed your way. I'm just telling you what I told them, and we do that a lot too, to kind of prepare you to deal with that, because, and like she said, they're, most of the time they're not going to be upset with you, but it looks like they are when they're in your face. You're like, okay,
Right.
they're
Right.
confronting me, and it's
Yeah.
not. I can't tell you how many times I've been cussed, and I don't deal well with that. But I've had to learn myself. I've had to teach myself, and I've had to evolve the last
Mhm.
17 years to not get back in their face, because I don't take that very well. But I had a guy one time. He came from Kentucky, and he thought they were going to hear his custody hearing, and then he gets there, and I realized that he didn't know it wasn't set, because the ex-wife couldn't get here from their state, and I went in there to tell him that before court started, where he wouldn't see her the whole time. And then he starts f-bombing me, and I said, hey, you need to back your stuff up a little, because I'm just trying to tell you, I know you're not mad at me, but you need to just calm down, because we don't do that. And then later he came and apologized.
Mhm.
Most of the time, look, it's all good, but we don't talk like that. We can handle stuff without talking that way, and it just makes you look ignorant.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing too. I mean, like I said, a lot of times you will get, and you think about it, you're working in a lawyer's office. If they're calling the lawyer's office, something has happened.
Right.
It's not the best of situations, and so a lot of what your job ends up being is trying to diffuse some situations and trying to help. Obviously, you're all in this field because you want to help people.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be in here. And even though we're sitting here saying you can't give legal advice, but at the same time, some of them just need reassurance.
Yes.
Reassurance. You can't sit there and say everything's going to be okay, okay, okay. But at the same time, they need to know that it's moving in a forward direction, regardless of what that
And a
is.
lot
I
of
mean, do
times
you
they just
think
need
that's?
somebody to listen. And sometimes, now let me talk about that for a minute, because I don't have an hour to
Right.
listen to somebody.
And
on the
that's
phone. I mean, I
exactly.
don't. That's
Mhm.
just how it is. And if somebody gets to rolling with, I'm like, okay, hold on just a minute. I know you're upset, but tell me first what it is you're needing from me, what you're needing me to do or wanting me to do, and then maybe I can guide you in giving me the information that I need to help you better. And usually that'll turn it around. And look, that's a process. I mean, some people have the nature to do that. I don't, because I get aggravated, so I've had to train myself too.
Mhm.
But then you can keep the bad ones down and kind of get the information you need to tell them what they need to do, or to or not even tell them anything. Maybe just listen
Mhm.
sometimes. But you do have to kind of curtail that, because you don't have all day to listen. You know, you just don't.
And sometimes they'll get off talking about stuff, and it's not that you don't care. It's just
Yeah.
it's not relevant to what it is that you need to move their case forward and to get to where you're trying to go. So I think that's perfect. You know, just trying to
Yeah.
steer them.
Or maybe I say, I'm so sorry. I'm really interested in what you have to tell me. I am just super busy right this minute, but if you can tell me within a few minutes time, I can, you know, you can give me that information. You know, that's a nice way of saying, I don't have time for this, but I'll give you a few minutes, you know, without making them mad. And look, that's a process learned because you just have to.
Yeah, and you gotta think now. She works for a judge. Now,
Yeah,
if you're working,
it's
it's a little bit different when you work in an attorney's office, because you wouldn't want somebody, if you are, especially if you're paying an attorney, you don't want them to
Yes.
say, I'm too busy.
No,
I
you
don't have time to talk to you. That will never
No.
ever fly. You always have time for the clients.
Yes.
It may not be right that second, but get the
Yes.
information. But you always want them to know that their case is important,
Mm-hmm.
and you're definitely, it deserves attention, and you're working on
And
it.
it's hard for me to go back to that because I've done this for so long. But that's absolutely right because, and you do have deadlines, and you may have somebody breathing down your neck needing something done. And, if you can't tell them what they need, you can say, well, I'll take the number and I'll have the attorney call you, when they get a free minute, because I know they want to, they want to help you and do what they can. And a lot of times people don't understand, though, they may call you and tell you that y'all need to file something, blah, 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 and that might not be the best thing for them. So, and sometimes it might just be best to let the attorney explain why that's not the best for them. And like she said, yeah, because you do have to differentiate. It just depends on what field, because see, they're not paying us. And if you're working for an attorney, they are paying you. And something else I did think about, especially in domestic cases, I found this, and I know you've had this problem. I mean, you may have a 40-year-old man getting divorced, but his mama is gonna call you.
That's true. That's true.
Every 10 minutes. Usually, the good way to handle that, I found, without even having to say a word, is when you send that little bill out there to the house. Just go ahead and send one periodically. I don't know. It'll depend on your law firm. You can send one and show that it's charged. Of course, the time's different for if they talk to an attorney than if they talk to you. But every time mommy's called or every time they call, that usually puts a little bit of a damper on that when they have to pay for every single phone call.
Yeah.
You don't even usually have to say anything. That'll take care of that.
And also remember, you have an obligation to the client, and it is not ethically, you cannot go out and be discussing that case with grandmother, girlfriend, boyfriend, cousin, neighbor, So if you keep the conversation to the client,
yes,
A, you never have to worry about violating any ethical rules, and B, you're going to cut down a lot of the other people interjecting into the case.
And mommy may be paying the attorney bill, but that still doesn't mean
she's not the client.
Is what they don't understand. And I do want to stress, I mean, just like she said, I know she just said that, but you are working for an attorney. You don't want to come across rude or like you do not have time for them, because then your attorney will get a bad reputation, and you don't want to do that. But and you might, whenever you start working somewhere, and if you come across that situation, you could at some point talk to your attorney and say, how do you want me to handle this? Because they're calling and talking to me for an hour, and I'm not getting done what you need me to do. How do you want me to handle it? That way it puts it on them, and you don't have to make the decision.
Right. How did you do it? I mean, as far as I was trying to tell them, calendaring's important. It's probably the most important to make sure you don't miss deadlines.
Yes.
But also, and I know every attorney is different as far as prioritizing, this is what we got to do today. This is what and I don't know how, when you were in private practice, how did y'all prioritize or sort of coordinate, okay, this is what we're going to do today. This is what's got to be done this week.
I think that will depend on your attorney
Okay.
and what's best for you, because, there's all these scheduling programs. Right now, I'll be honest, I know people think it's great. I don't use a computer schedule program. I do paper I do paper calendars because they're not going to go away. They're not going to disappear, or something's not going to magically fly off of it,
Right.
Because I just anal about that, because you don't want to miss something. And I have before. I'm not going to say I haven't, because I have. What I did a lot of times, I would highlight it in a certain color. I'm so bad at color coordinating stuff, but court in certain colors, and then, or even just write it in blue, or write something in red or something in black. And then if your attorney, a lot of attorneys are involved in community work and civil stuff to, have, maybe meetings at lunch and stuff like that. So put that in a whole different color, or, just whatever works for you and whatever your attorney is okay with. But checking dockets, docket notices, of course, it's different. Used to we'd get all those paper dockets you'd have to get through, and then usually you would get a notice for each case. I'm not really sure how that works now on the computerized. Do you get something?
Typically, we get a whole docket, and a docket tells you what cases are coming up on what judge on a particular date. But the good news is when those dockets come up, you can do a find,
Okay.
and you can put in your attorney's name,
Okay.
and it'll pull it up so you don't have to go through
That's
40
good.
pages of. I mean, we do get an individual thing for
Yes,
each case, but then you
okay.
can go double check it with the docket
That's
and make
good.
sure. So,
And one really good thing I think about Coleman County now, we've had some judges in the past that would send a deputy for an attorney if they wasn't there. We don't do that. Most, unless you're got a reputation as being
mhm.
difficult, you might not get it the same treatment sometimes. But if you don't always, but we'll usually give a courtesy call if we need you there and say, hey, we're so and so, he's got this set today. And most of the time, it's they didn't realize it or they forgot or just something simple. And you don't want to jump on people because we're all human and we all make mistakes. So I can say that about our circuit. We're really good about that now. Some other places may not be. But you don't want to make that a habit either of missing it.
Yeah.
Because then you want to answer to your attorney for why they're not
Yeah,
there.
I was gonna say, cause that is the worst feeling when you get
It
that
is.
call. A, you're so appreciative, and then B, it's like you get this panic feeling.
Yes,
Like,
you do.
Oh my gosh, because A, obviously you weren't anticipating it, and you've got a client that you're thinking about, like, oh my gosh, and you got to make sure that you've always
Because
got to
it
be
looks bad.
prepared.
It makes you look
Yes.
bad to them if they're there and you're not. I'm like, I can't find my attorney. I hear that probably 15 times a week. Most times I'll say, hey, now your attorney is upstairs. They've already checked in with me. I know this. And even if they hadn't, I don't expect them to check in with me every time they got court in both. But a lot of them do. But I'm bad to look and see what other judges have it down. So, well, most likely they're upstairs in revocations or they're just have a seat. And if they haven't come in by the end, we'll figure out what to do.
Mhm.
And most of the time they will come down because most of the time they can't even get to me anyway to tell me. So I don't expect
Yeah.
them to. But we're all pretty good about that. But yeah, you don't ever want to embarrass your attorney. You do not want to do that.
Mhm.
Plus it just makes you look bad and it makes you feel bad.
Oh yeah. So, I would just say, and things like that are going to happen from time to time. Stuff gets put on the docket. Things just happen. Technology is great when it works, and then sometimes it doesn't.
Yes,
But
it is.
as a general rule, you want to be the person that is dependable, and if Miss Osborne knows that you're not in court, something must have happened.
Yes.
And you want to be that person, and you want to be that office. You don't want to be the one that she's continually having to chase down.
And, we have defendants that's like that. I'm like, why are they not here? This is weird that they're not here.
Mhm.
And even if their attorney's there, we're still really supposed to issue a warrant. But a lot of times we'll say, hey, if you can find them, by tomorrow, let me know what's going on. And most of the time it's like, oh, they just didn't get a notice, or they didn't realize, or they forgot something honest because. We're all, like I said, we're all human. We don't want people just jumping down the throat because we made a mistake.
That's
But
right.
sometimes, 3 strikes are out.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's very true. What questions do y'all have? None? I can't believe it.
They're probably overwhelmed a little. I bet they're overwhelmed. And I told her, I said, I try to remember the attorney side of it, but it's been a little bit.
That's okay.
I guess, graduating from this program, there's me and Miss Johnson were talking a while ago about people that have graduated from here, and a lot of people a lot of the secretaries didn't even go to school, that I know of. But, you just want to, I would expect you, if you graduate from this program, to know how to hold a conversation down on the phone, be nice, be polite, just have your stuff together. That's not really a whole lot to ask if you want, if you graduated to your program. Just do the best you can. That's all any of us can do. And if we say you're trying, You know, I have much more respect for somebody that calls me and says, look, I think this is what I need to do, but I'm not really sure, can you help me, than somebody that just has an attitude and don't care if they get it right or not. I mean, I have much more respect. Hey, I still have to call and say, you know, I think I know, but I'm not sure. Cause if you deal with something like once in a blue moon, I mean, you don't remember every time, so nobody's gonna jump down your throat. I mean, it's just do the best you can and just represent your office the best you can and be professional and.
So when you say sometimes you still have to call, who do you call? What do you mean by, who do you
Well,
call?
sometimes
People
I
that you
call
know?
other assistants, and sometimes I'll call attorney's
Yeah.
offices. I really
Mhm.
have. I mean, even
Like
recently.
in a specialty, you'll choose one that you know is.
Yeah, or either, sometimes I call the attorney of the defendant and say, look, I know, but I don't know. I mean, I know, but I don't. And, or an attorney that specializes in that or know and handle a lot of those cases and say, I think I know this, but my brain just went to sleep or something. You know, and they don't think I'm goofy because, I hope they don't anyway, because I called, I mean, they don't make me feel stupid because I called to ask a question. I mean, look, I wanna get this right. If anybody sees you're trying to get something right, they're not gonna think twice about it.
Right.
And like I said, I have more respect for that. I think most people do too.
Oh, yeah. And I was telling them, I mean, you know, just echoing what you said, there's no way you can specialize in everything.
No.
So, you know, be sure to reach out to those in your community that do specialize in that area, because you are going to be, you'll have some random something come across your desk,
Yes.
and, you know, don't hesitate to, you know, reach out to others.
Networking
can
is
help
a
you.
big thing.
It is
I mean,
very.
even if you just do it in your community to
Mhm.
other lawyers' offices, or like sometimes I will call someone I've met at a judicial assistance conference.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll call them in a whole other county and say, especially when we started doing these orders for Alcourt, and some of them had been like the pilot counties, and they had been doing it longer. It's like, do you have orders that you use, like basic orders you use? Would you mind sending them? I didn't even make them up. They just send them on to me, and then you can just plug them in. I mean, that's networking, and it just helps, and it saves you time. And even if you don't like it, you know, you can fix it and make it fit what you want to do.
Yeah.
So.
And something you guys want to start from day one is when you do something, like for example, you know, ask for a preliminary hearing, you know, keep a form folder.
Yes.
Then that way, when it comes up later on, you've already done it once. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
You at least have something to pull from, you know, so always, I would highly encourage you to always do that.
Just make sure you change all the names.
Yeah,
Because
change
I've
all the
done that.
names.
We've all done it.
Yes.
And two, something important, I think, one of the things that I've noticed lately, like if your attorney gets a new case, and it may not even be a new case, but it's new to them, like it may be a 2013 case, maybe a felony case. Research that. On the Alcourt, all you have to do, you can look up any case you want, unless it's a juvenile case. Now, you can only look up juvenile cases that your attorney is pointed in because they're confidential. You can look that up, you can look at everything that's been filed, research that before you start filing, because a lot of these new ones, they just want to immediately file for preliminary hearing. Well, we had a bunch of those, and these cases were older, and they'd already had one. You know, and it kind of makes your attorney look a little goofy, you know, because especially when you're doing 15 of them, you know.
Right.
I mean, and I know it's easy to do that, and that's just the initial thought, but if it's not a brand new case, just kind of research it. It won't take that long. You can even go in there and just hit orders, and it'll show you all the orders that have been done, or motions, and it'll just show you the motions. That way you don't have to dig through every single thing. Just to kind of make it, you know, make it better on yourself too.
Yeah.
I think. And you can actually just print those off, and you can stick it in a folder, and then you'll know that's been done, and you won't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I know this is a lot, because y'all are new. I know this is a lot. I know it is.
Yes, but at least it's getting you thinking about,
Yeah.
you know, all those things coming up. So
Has anybody ever worked in any kind of an office before? You have? What kind of office?
Medical.
You know, and I was gonna say a while ago, you know, people, like she's talking about people upset, that's just like people in the hospital. I don't really wanna be here, didn't expect to be here, but I'm here. Kinda like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
with being an attorney. In medical, I mean, I know it's different too, but some of the same stuff still applies about, you know, being courteous and responsible and all that. But, yeah, you know, you can do it. It's just like anything else, you just have to learn.
that's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
I hope that helps. I know I was kinda all over the place.
No, no, no.